Hello and welcome to Precon Decon, the video series where normally I deconstruct the pre-constructed decks of Magic the Gathering's history, or in the case of my Get deck series, make some casual budget decks. But I'm going to do something I've not done in a while, which is one of these trash talk episodes, which is kind of, if you've not listened to one of these before, which I don't blame you for, honestly, they're even more rambly. It's kind of just where I talk about kind of whatever's on my mind regarding Magic the Gathering. And normally I have a bit of focus on these trash talk episodes. But I had a lot of kind of little things that I didn't think they deserved their own video, so I thought I'd just do maybe a slightly longer trash talk video here, where I just talk about lots of different things and just kind of get them out there, just to fill the little gap. Because at the moment we're between Get Decked and the Precon Decon, the dual decks. So I thought, we got a couple of weeks before the next dual deck thing before we get back into that. So I thought, have this as a little filler video. These trash talk videos are kind of good for that. So like I said, I had a lot to talk about, so we're gonna dive into it and just start talking about the all the things I had in my mind regarding Magic the Gathering and the hobby in general. So sure, let's just dive into it, and the channel in general, just general updates about that. So, yeah, first thing we want to talk about, I want to talk about Bloomborough. So I put a community post up this about this a few days ago, from my point of view at least, because I'm recording this. When am I recording this? July 5th. I'm recording this. So yeah, it was kind of surprising seeing release dates recently, because Bloomborough is coming out the start of next month, and then Duskmorn comes out end of September. So which is very weird to me, honestly. But a lot of people have asked if I'm going to do the Bloomborough starter kit as a review. I definitely am, because those starter kit reviews actually do really well. The Assassin's Creed and the Lord of the Rings ones were both like some of my most popular videos. They got loads of views. I mean, like, compared to like everything else I do. So I'll definitely be looking at the Bloomborough starter kit, and it's actually kind of nice hearing about there's going to be more Bloomborough cards, because the starter 2023 set, which I've also looked at, and I also got like quite a fair number of views. It was meant to be released at the same time Wilds of Eldraine. It was kind of marketed as a Wilds of Eldraine starter kit, and it had like 10 cards from Wilds of Eldraine in it. It was just kind of a mix of like Brothers War and March of the Machine. There was a bunch of cards from all different sets, but the Bloomborough starter kit is apparently going to be mostly Bloomborough, which I'm really looking forward to. I think it's going to be a super charming, fun little set to look at. And I actually don't mind the look of Duskmorn coming up as well, but my heart belongs to Bloomborough. Like, I'm a really big Redwall fan, so having a whole set based around cute little animals going on wholesome adventures, yeah, really looking forward to that. So I'll be definitely doing some Get Decked videos based around like the two color archetypes, like I did with the Thunder Junction ones we just had, and I hope people really enjoy those. I really enjoy putting those ones together as like a nice little kind of like deck building challenge, like a little limitation to set myself to do that. But yeah, in regarding starter kits is going to lead me on to my next topic. Everyone's got to start somewhere with a collection. It's easy to take for granted. I've got shoe boxes full of cards upstairs, but a lot of people, as they get into the game, it's kind of hard to do that, to build up a collection, which is partly why I'm actually really excited for Magic the Gathering Foundations, which is coming in sort of like late November, I think. And this looks like just a return to the idea of core sets in general. I think it's just like a bunch of kind of like very iconic, sort of simpler cards, maybe with some exclusive cards, because we've all got to have exclusive cards in there these days. But I'm excited about this, and apparently this game being released in a kind of like a nice big collector set, so it's going to be really easy for new players to get this and build up a collection really easily, because it's hard to do these days, right? Other than sort of like buying a lot of boosters, or which is super expensive, or like maybe you just buy a bunch of like bulk cards off eBay or something, which then you're not really sure what you're getting. But yeah, I'm really excited about Foundations, and I probably will buy some Foundations just to put together like a kind of like a very simple like core set kind of cube kind of feel. I might do that, so I'm really excited about that. But back in my day, when I was starting to play the game, I didn't have the option of a of a starter box like Foundations. No, I wanted to talk about my very first Magic the Gathering product, which was a booster pack of Alliances, which I picked up. This was, when would this have been? Probably about 96, 97, I think, something like that. I was just about to go into secondary school, so I was like 12, So I think my parents and I were on holiday in America, and we were going through like this mall, and I saw this kind of like weird little like game shop, and I was at the age where this kind of stuff was really starting to like, becoming like my core personality of like, oh, I like kind of geeky, nerdy stuff. And I begged my parents to go and have a look around, and like it was very mysterious and exciting because I didn't know what any of this stuff was. And I convinced them to let me to let to for them to buy me a pack of Magic the Gathering cards. I had no idea what the game was. It just looked cool. It was a cool pack of cards. I just wanted it. So yeah, I wanted to talk about what was in my very, very, very first booster pack of cards. It wasn't anything cool from Alliances. I didn't get Lake of the Dead or Force of Will, although that's probably for the best, knowing me, being sort of like 11, 12 at the time. If I'd opened these cards, I would have been, I wouldn't have known what they did, and B, even after learning the rules, I've been like, oh, these are bad because you have to sacrifice stuff or pay life. Well, obviously, now I fully appreciate these are amazing, amazing cards. But at the time, these would have been wasted on me. But I do remember very vividly what I did open in that pack. So these, in a lot of ways, are the very formative cards for me. It started off my whole Magic the Gathering journey. So this is my very, very first rare was Ivory Gargoyle. This was in the rare slot in the pack. And it's just not great, is it? Like, I mean, it's all right, I suppose, like for the time. Sort of like got like a flicker effect, I suppose. But yeah, it was actually really cool because in Plane of Chaos in Time Spiral block, there was a Phoenix that was it was essentially like a color shifted version of this. So that was actually really cool to see that when it came out all those years ago. Had Burnout, which is just it's like a red counter spell, which is all right, I suppose. Contagion. This is actually pretty spicy. So it's one where you can pay life and exile stuff, so you can cast it for free, and you get to distribute two -2/-1 counters amongst a number of creatures. So actually pretty good being able to cast this for free and spread some debuffs around. Actually a pretty good card, probably the best card out of the pack I had actually. Unlikely Alliance, which is this really garbage white enchantment. You can boost the toughness of a non-attacking, non-blocking creature, so all it does is save them from burn spells. Awesome Presence, which I think this is my favorite card in the set because it had like cool artwork. I think this is my favorite. Or Burnout, actually, quite liked both of those. So Awesome Presence, just aura that makes a creature harder to block, sure. Casting your Bones, this is actually okay, I think, even by today's standards. It's sort of alright. Aura goes on the creature, when it dies, you draw 3 and discard 1, which is like not awful, I think, for the time, like for 3 mana. Hanan Slave Scout, who's just Dork who can get Mountain Walk. Insidious Bookworms, when they die, you can spend a black to make someone discard at random, which is like fine, I suppose. A Phyrexian Warbeast, where before we really had decided what Phyrexian looked like, so it's this weird helicopter kangaroo llama thing. But yeah, I mean, like 3 mana for a 3/4 though. But when it leaves play, you have to sacrifice a land. It does 1 damage to you. So, ooh, but like three colorless mana for a 3/4. I mean, man, real powerhouse back then. We had a reinforcements in there, which like I still don't think is actually that terrible. 1 white mana, instant speed to get 3 creatures back from graveyard on top of library in any order. I still don't think that's terrible. It's not great, but it's not completely awful for an old card, you know. Soldovi Heretic, who is completely dreadful. He prevents damage, but also lets your opponent draw a card by preventing damage. Not great. And then Wild Aesir, who's just a bird. It's got flying, first striking, and boosts its power once a turn. So that was the contents of my very, very first booster pack. Please leave a comment in the below saying what was in your very first booster pack. What was your first rare, and were there any cards in there that you didn't? I know when you opened, you were brand new and like you didn't really understand them, and then like you came to appreciate them later, or were there ones that you really overvalued? I don't know. The classic I always think is there's like a red burn spell from Onslaught block, and it's like it's super expensive. And it does 8 damage to anything, but it's like 9 mana or something. Like, is that that sort of card? Would you really overvalue it? Like, whoa, that does 9 damage. I only have to cast like 2 of these and I win. I'd love to hear what people's first booster packs were, and how that set you off on your own Magic journey. Anyway, moving on. So just before Christmas, I did another trash talk where I talked about an janky old combo deck that I used to run years and years ago, which involved Mirrorwood Treefolk, and the whole combo was doing a whole bunch of burn damage to Mirrorwood Treefolk and bouncing it off and damaging the opponent directly that way, and how it kind of evolved into a different deck. And in the comments of that video, I was sort of like mentioned a couple of my other old janky combo decks, which I thought I'd quickly talk about here because I just know I just need validation for them, I suppose, to see if they're any good in any way. So my very first one was Spiral Breeze, or I called it there. This is probably not the exact deck list. I mean, we're talking a deck that I played about 20 years ago, so it's probably not accurate. This is as best as I could remember it from memory. It's probably like not exact, but you get the gist of it here. So the gist of it is you load up a land with like all these things like Fertile Ground, Dawn's Reflection, so it gives you a bunch of mana when you tap it. Use cards like Cloud of Fairies and Obora Breeze Caller to repeatedly untap it, so you can just you get more mana that way. You just build up a whole bunch of mana. Obora Breeze Caller also has the extra benefit of returning lands to your hand, which normally would be bad, but in this case it's good because you also use Rush of Knowledge to draw a whole bunch of cards, because the deck's also got Krosan Tusker and Tangle Golem, who are both really high cost. I want to say I probably also had Spire Golem in this as well, but like a high mana value creature, so I could draw a whole bunch of cards. Obviously with a whole bunch of mana, potentially draw into another Rush of Knowledge, cast another Rush of Knowledge, and the eventual aim was to do a huge Spiraling Embers and win that way, or like do multiple Spiraling Embers. So yeah, that was Spiraling Breeze, and not in probably in retrospect a great deck, but it definitely got a few wins. People who didn't know what was happening. So yeah, that was one I want to talk about. The other one was Chainslaver. So again, this is a deck list that I can remember best from memory, but there was a deck with kind of two things going on. So the main thing, this is the win condition I really wanted to do when I played it, was use Mindslaver. And then pop Mindslaver, controller players next turn, and then on their turn do Chain of Vapor. So Chain of Vapor, I had no idea how expensive Chain of Vapor is these days. Back in the day I got this for whatever, like 10p a copy of it. It's like a $15 card now. It's ridiculous. Like it's crazy how expensive Chain of Vapor is. But yeah, at the time it was just kind of like a sort of like a trash bulk uncommon. But yeah, so I'm glad I picked them up. I definitely have like 4 of these upstairs somewhere, and I had no idea like how much money I'm sitting on with them. But Chain of Vapor lets you return a permanent to its owner's hand. Then that permanent's controller can sacrifice a land. If they do, they copy Chain of Vapor and they can choose new targets for it. So with Mindslaver, you can probably see where this is going, where you make all decisions for that player. You Chain of Vapor, bounce one of their things. You're controlling their decisions, like, I'm going to sacrifice a land and target another one of my things. I'm going to sacrifice a land, target another one of my things. So basically, like, return as many things back to their hand as they have lands to sacrifice. And then you do Chain of Plasma, which does 3 damage to them, and then they can discard a card and copy the spell and choose a new target for it. But they've just filled up their hand, so you do Chain of Plasma. They choose, in quotes, to discard a card, hit themselves again, discard a card, hit themselves again. So that was the aim win condition, and it was super janky. I managed it like once or twice, and it felt great. But the actual probably more reliable backup win condition in this was the at the time this was the hotness, the Izzet Guildmage Lava Spike Desperate Ritual combo. So, which I had so much fun, again in quotes, trying to explain this rules wise to my group at the time. So the way it works is you play you have Izzet Guildmage out, you play Lava Spike, you splice Desperate Ritual onto Lava Spike, which adds its text onto Lava Spike. Then you cast Desperate Ritual normally to activate Izzet Guildmage's second ability, which copies the sorcery spell. You copy the Lava Spike, which has the Desperate Ritual text on it, so then you've got a Lava Spike that does 3 damage to a player and also adds triple red. You use that triple red to use the Izzet Guildmage ability again, and you just do that. So this was like the backup win condition, but honestly it was like far more reliable, I suppose. It's cheaper because I had Seething Song in here as well, so could technically do it turn 3. I think, yes, turn 3 would work. Yes, because turn 3 Seething Song, Izzet Guildmage, Lava Spike Desperate Ritual. Yes, so potentially turn 3 there. But yeah, super fun at the time having to explain this rules wise to my group. Even explaining it now is like, I'm pretty sure I've got the interaction right, but like at the time I was checking like forums and websites, and I was like, yeah, this definitely works. But like yeah, so there we go. That was Chainslaver with Izzet Guildmage Lava Spike on the side, I suppose. But yes, please also leave a comment talking about your weirdest combo deck. Are they jankier than this? Have you got something else going on? I'd love to hear people's like weird combo decks. Because I think the Chainslaver one, I think I came up with that on my own. But the Spiral Breeze, I remember seeing that I think on a forum or something years and years ago. I was like, oh, that sounds kind of fun. I'll try and build a deck around that because it was so weird. But like, yeah, please, I'd love to hear about a weird combo deck. Absolutely, definitely stick it in a comment below. Also, this is going to do a little YouTube moment here. So, in the past few days, I've noticed that about 75% of people watching are not subscribed. If you could subscribe, that would actually be really, really lovely because I'm so close to 1,000 subscribers, which would absolutely mean the world to me if I could hit that. Yeah, it'd be just absolutely fantastic. If you've been enjoying these videos in any way, please subscribe. It really would mean a lot to me. And also, I'm going to say, when we do eventually hit 1,000, so I've been sort of talking about maybe branching out to do RPG content for a while, like talk about how to run games and stuff, because I've probably got more experience like doing RPG stuff than playing Magic, honestly. So it'd be good to kind of like maybe do some videos about that, share some experience. So we'll say when I hit 1,000 subscribers, I will start working on a series of videos about how to run a really good one-shot RPG session. How about that? There we go. That's a target, little incentive there for people to subscribe. Anyway, YouTube stuff over. Let's talk about Universes Beyond. So we just had the Assassin's Creed set, which, as I said, was a really popular video. Really liked looking at that starter kit. Actually, it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be, if I'm perfectly honest. But the next Universes Beyond set, so we've got Final Fantasy coming up, we got Marvel coming up as well. And I don't know, I've kind of mellowed on Universes Beyond. I was really against it when it came out because I was like, oh, it's bad because it's bad for both IPs, and it's all like, it's turning Magic into like this kind of like pop culture melting pot. Like, I'm basically fine with it now. Like, it's not 100% for me, but there will be people out there who really, really like it. If it brings in more people to the game, I think that's fine. If it makes Magic players explore other franchises, I think that's fine too. So I've kind of mellowed on it. I've kind of stopped being a grumpy old man about it. But a few weeks ago, another Magic YouTuber I watch, Red Bobcat, he did this kind of video where he theorized a Star Trek Universe Beyond set, and it was really interesting. I watched the whole video, and he went really in depth into like describing like the all the three color archetypes and all the different races of Star Trek. I know like nothing about Star Trek other than it's not for me at all. But even so, it was really interesting watch, and it got me kind of thinking, what's a franchise I really like that I would like to see in kind of Universe Beyond, like see represented in Magic the Gathering. And I thought the Persona series, which I'm not like a super like diehard Persona veteran. Persona 5 was my very first Persona game, but like even then, that's like nearly 8 years old. Actually, thinking about it, so maybe, so maybe I am sort of like starting to be there in terms of a Persona veteran. I've since played Persona 4 Golden. I've played the Persona 3 remake. I know very little about Persona 1 and 2. So I'm one of those. I'm like one of the new age, modern Persona fans. I'm not, like a filthy casual. Fine, let's have that there. But I thought this could be really fun as a Universe Beyond set, and I thought, in the same way the Doctor Who Universe Beyond set did for Commander Precons, and the way they did it, I thought was really interesting. Where they did it around the different like phases of the show. So like one deck was the like classic Doctor Who, and then one deck was it like Chris Eccleston up to Matt Smith, I think. So that kind of era of it, and then another deck was like the more modern Doctor Who, like from Capaldi onwards, I think it was. And then you had a deck that was just the villains. So I thought that's probably what would work really well for Persona. Also, I think that's probably how it's going to work with Final Fantasy, I would think. Like maybe the different like eras of Final Fantasy. I imagine that's how it's going to be split across the command decks. But anyway, I'd love to hear obviously people's ideas about that. So I thought, no, we'll do the same for Persona. And then, of course, like, oh, well, what color combinations, what themes for these decks? So I'll share my thoughts on those. So the first one we're going to talk about is the Dark Hour. This would be the Persona 3 deck. It'd be white, blue, black, which I think goes well with the themes of Persona 3. It's a game about, loss, grief, death, those kind of like morbid themes. So I thought these three colors go for it perfectly. So white and black, mostly because those are the colors associated most with like death and the afterlife. Blue is honestly just here because it's the color of Persona 3. It's like the iconic color scheme for Persona 3. But I thought, you could do something kind of fun in those three colors to represent, the characters and cast of Persona 3. As for like the main mechanical gimmick, this is probably going to get a groan from some people, but I thought day night, right? Because Persona 3, the big focus of it is the dark hour. And it's really different to the other Persona games, or at least 4 and 5, where you do the adventure stuff in the day and you usually do you just chill out in the evening. Whereas Persona 3, you can do all your stuff during the day and you only go adventuring at night because it's the dark hour. It's at 12 o'clock. That's when the giant Tower of Tartarus manifests and you can go and explore and adventure. And also, I thought this would be a nice nod to the way the gameplay works in Persona games, or at least the modern ones, where you have these kind of like time slots. You only do activities and certain times of the day. So you could have, I don't know, one of the main crew. I forgot what they're called. I want to say Seed, but that's Final Fantasy. I can't remember what they're called. Anyway, you have like one of the main investigation team. It could be like, oh, if it's day, they get this bonus, and if it's night, they get this bonus. That kind of thing. I thought that could be kind of fun for Persona 3. Moving on, Persona 4 would be the Myriad Truths. So this would be white, red, green, because I feel like that color combination is best for like the vibe of the game. It's kind of like meant to be a more, I guess, like wholesome, friendly feel. It's not as serious. I mean, I say it's not serious. Like the whole plot of the game is like you're trying to like find a murderer. But the whole themes of the game are like friendship and like building bonds with people, and I felt like the Naya colors, are the best way of representing that. And also because I don't think any of the cast really fit like either blue or black, in terms of like personality or identity or whatever. So as I said, like the main theme of Persona 4 is not only like companionship, friendship, but it's also truth and finding out the what's really going on. And like I say, the whole plot is essentially a murder mystery. So this is a deck that would use investigate, it would use clues, do a whole bunch of things like clue synergies. Yeah, pretty straightforward, I think. And then the final one, my favorite one, Persona 5, because I'm basic. So take your heart, this would be the Persona 5 one. White, blue, red. Because I feel again those are the whole things of Persona 5 are like rebellion, anti-establishment, and I feel like these three colors maybe do best that. I mean, you could also make an argument for white, red, green, maybe, or that's Naya, or maybe blue, red, green, maybe, possibly. I don't know. But yeah, those are the colors I thought the Jeskai colors for Persona 5, and this is one that I was really kind of struggling on a mechanical gimmick for. So in Persona 5, the main cast are called the Phantom Thieves, and what they do is they enter the essentially like the dreamscapes, the psychoscapes of their targets, and steal their metaphorical treasures, and that provokes like a change of heart, like a change of philosophy and thinking. So two things jumped at me there. Firstly, I thought it could use like cloak, because the Phantom Thieves are in the modern Persona games, at least, are the only ones who have to act in secret, because what they're doing is technically against the law. So they have to wear masks. Like masks are a big thing as well. This kind of like the how you present as to how you really are deep down inside. So I thought like, oh, like cloaking, the mysterious creature, that mechanic could work really well for it. Also treasure, like that's like a big thing in Persona 5 is stealing treasure. So yeah, I thought that could be a main thing. Another idea I had as well, because the way Persona 5 works is they all have like their targets and they do various heists against the palaces of their targets. And I thought a good way to represent that would be via battle cards. So what this could be, you could have like instead of siege being the subtype, it could be a heist subtype or infiltration, something like that. Again, you could attack it. This could represent like the palace of one of the bosses, and then once it's beaten or fully infiltrate or however you want to say it, then you would flip it over and you would get some sort of bonus, like like a really good sorcery or a good enchantment, something like that. Very similar to the way how battles work themselves. Actually, what would be nice if you tied it to each each heist giving you like the phantom thief who's associated with that villain. So, for example, like in the first one, you could be, oh god, I can't remember anyone's name for God's sake. The gym teacher at the start. You could defeat him and then flip over, and it could be Arn as the character that essentially unlocked or saved from the heist. Maybe, I don't know. But I thought that could work. It'd be difficult to maybe do this in a precon because they typically don't have dual face cards in it, but I thought that could be a fun idea. And the last deck would be Looming Shadow. So this is just the villain deck, which is why it's in Grixis colors. And I thought this could be like a just sort of a greatest hits of villains from the Persona series. So this is ways you could get Persona 1 and Persona 2 characters in there. Like I understand Narliathatep is like the main antagonist of Persona 2, so you get him in here. But also you could get in characters like Nyx and Yaldabaoth and I can't remember everyone's names. Why can't I remember everyone's names? Like Akechi, Adachi from Persona 4. They could all be in this deck. And also like the regular little shadows that you fight just during the dungeons as normal. So for mechanical gimmick, what I thought about this could be sort of a mixture of Emerge, Morph, or Foretell, because I thought Morph could work out well because the whole point of like the little normal shadows that you fight in the Overland when you're exploring dungeons, they're kind of like blob monsters, and you don't find out what they are until they're really revealed. So that I thought could be a thing. And Foretell and Emerge I thought could be in here as well, because it's just normally in Persona games the main villain is usually masquerading as like a normal person, or like they're using a normal human as a guise to like pass around in around every day, and then they finally like reveal themselves. Very normal JRPG kind of trope there. But I thought that could be like a fun way of representing it. Like you'd have Foretell could be like, oh, that could be for, I don't know, like Yaldabaoth, he's like in the background there, he's pulling all the strings, everything's like connected to him, and then you finally cast him, and he's been there since the beginning, that kind of thing. That's the vibe I want to get. So I hope that makes sense, and hope you hope that would sound interesting to you. But yeah, please leave a comment down below saying what kind of franchise you would want to see next in Universe Beyond. Yeah, I'm sure there's a whole bunch out there that would make really, really fun sets. So I'd like to hear what your thoughts on that are. Right, and then I think the final thing. So I've weirdly been getting into alchemy, which is like the Magic Arena exclusive sets, and not really playing them. And let me explain. Basically, I've had a lot of free time recently, and so I've been looking at these because I think the alchemy cards are usually very, very interesting designs, and the fact they're digital exclusive means that the cards can do stuff that wouldn't be possible like in the paper form Magic. For example, Bind to Secrecy here has this whole thing about conjuring a duplicate of a creature card in an opponent's graveyard, so then you get a copy of it and you can cast it, like which you wouldn't be able to do normally in a game, or you in a paper game, but you could. It would just require a whole workaround to do it. It has this whole thing about drafting cards from spell books, because some cards have essentially a small selection of cards tied to them. So like Bind to Secret is like, if you hit this requirement, you get to look at a selection of cards and pick one, and so it's like a very limited sideboard, but like on a per card basis. And yeah, it's like really interesting, like some of the stuff they do digitally. As I said, I've had a lot of time to myself recently because, a bit of a real talk, I got made redundant from my job at the end of April. And so I've had a couple of months where I've been sort of sitting around like job hunting, not much to do during the day. Everything's fine now. I've now got a new job, which I'm starting soon. So that's all good. But to kind of pass the time, I've been looking at these alchemy cards and working out how I'd make them into paper versions. which has been a really interesting exercise actually, like in terms of knowing how like magic cards and how magic design works. It's been a really interesting process to do, and I say it passes the time, keeps me busy, keeps me off the streets. So yeah, for example, here we've got Bind to Secrecy, so the alchemy version on the left there, and then my kind of like how it could work in paper on the right. So it sort of like it gets the vibe of it right without having to replicate it exactly. So I've been doing that. I've been going through alchemy sets and like just trying to work out how I'd turn them into paper versions. And I don't know, I've got like a bit of a I'm sort of like entertaining the idea like I could make all the alchemy cards into paper versions and then print them off and then make a cube for just like these versions that I could play. Maybe, I don't know. But I thought, might be worth it. I wonder if anyone else out there has ever thought this, because like some of the alchemy cards are really cool. They feature like characters and moments from the storyline that like otherwise wouldn't be visible or represented in cards. So yeah, I thought it'd be just kind of interesting to explore that and just play around with it, have some fun with it. The one thing I would say about alchemy though is there is a mechanic that I think could work in paper if it just like changed slightly. So in alchemy, you got a whole bunch of cards that say seek a card with a particular characteristic. So the artillery enthusiast here, you say you discard a card if you do seek a card with mana value equal to that card's mana value, and seeking works really well digitally because seeking is basically you get a random card from your deck that meets that requirement basically. Which you could do it in paper, but like it would be such a faff. Like for example, like for the artillery enthusiast, you'd have to go through your deck, find all the cards that met the requirement, then shuffle them, and then get a random one, and then shuffle everything back in. So it'd take forever. I think Seek could work in paper if it was changed to be like sort of a version of Discover, where you exile cards from the top until you exile a card that meets the requirement, and then you get it into hand, and the rest go back on bottom in random order. That's maybe a way it could work. And then I know it could be like a different way of like tutoring effects, or like that kind of excavate, like dig effect we see sometimes, where you look at the certain number of top cards until you find a certain thing. And just in terms of like saving words and like space on a card, like that kind of like just being very conscious of how much text something takes. I don't know, that could be like a useful tool for future, like if you had like I don't know, a green spell that was just like seek a land, then that'd be fine. You would just exile cards, like you find a land, that's fine, rather than search your library for a land, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. That's a whole lot of words that takes up a lot of space. And if cards are going to get more complex and more wordy, got to look for ways of cutting things down, I suppose. But anyway, I would love to I'd love to know what alchemy cards you would like to see paper versions of. As I say, I've been working my way through all of them. And there are some really really interesting alchemy designs that I think would make really really good actual physical cards without honestly too much change to them. But yeah, if you got one in mind, if you play alchemy a lot, and there's a particular card you'd like to play a physical version of, stick a comment below. Let me know. Right, I think I've talked enough, so I'm gonna shut up now. Definitely had enough rambling for one day, I think. So I'll be back next time. Next video after this is going to be back to dual decks. So we'll be what's the next one? Elspeth versus Tezzeret, I think. So yes, that'll be the next video. That should be coming out in about a week. So hope you join me to watch that. And enjoy it, because the dual decks have sort of been okay. I think people have been receiving them all right. Not as much attention as I would like them to be getting, honestly. But so I'm committed to them now. So we'll see how that goes. So yeah, we're gonna have 10 more of the dual decks. Yep, and then we will. Well, you'll see in one of the videos. I basically hit a point. I basically went up to Venza versus Koth. Koth is the last one, which is like a full review, and then after that, what I've done is basically just do kind of like a summary where I just look at all the others very very quickly in a single video. It'll all be explained in that video when we get to it. But hope you join me next time to come back and look at those dual decks. Hope you've enjoyed this very rambly trash talk. I know it's been very rambly, but yeah, stick a comment down below if you've got anything to say, any opinions on any of the topics I covered. I'd love to read those as always. But I'll be back next time. Thanks for watching, listening, and have a great day.